All right, so I was planning on going over in the next 4.5 hours. I'm going to go over 4 topics, okay? I'm going to talk a little bit about doing a traditional ring. How many people here have ever done a ring? All right, next month, when they ask, I want time to ask how many people have done a ring, and I want every hand to go up on that one, on this one. But, you know, the only bummer I had was that when I was driving out here, I realized I didn't bring my really nice finished ones. So I've got some demo ones, and they were just done at demos. I'll pass it around. It's a little sloppy, but you know what? For the demo, that's what I was doing. Are you trying to get a picture of it?
Oh, you keep talking.
So this is what we're going to do. We're going to first do one, you know, more of a traditional ring. So this is Tulip Wood, and I'll go over all the cores and stuff like that. Then we're going to go over doing something like an inlay ring. And so the inlay rings look more like this. I don't know if they're catching it on.
Put it on the bed.
Yeah, there you go. Those are the inlay rings. And they're my demo ones. So we'll talk about how we make those. Then after that, we're going to do 2 different things. So Tom asked me to do just a general on wood finishing for small products. As he said, I do glue boost. I think I might have even did glue boost years ago when I was here. We're going to go over that one again. And then I'm going to do master tint, where I'll show you how to actually color something using glue boost and getting it there. So we're pretty good with the topic. If you've ever seen me demo before, one of the things that I'll tell you is, especially on rings, because pens I can talk to you all day long for literally hours on it. This one I want you to be a little bit more conversational. So as a member of all the other clubs, I always encourage people, you know, the hardest thing I think that Tom has is getting people to come up and demonstrate. And I think this is going to be a demo that's going to be kind of unique, because I'm going to tell you my trials and tribulations with what I did. What worked for me, what didn't work for me. I'm not coming up to just show you this is the only way to do it. This is just going to be the way that I've done it. And I'm going to tell you why I did certain things, how things work. I'm not going to do a lot of turning, because I'm going to show you that to actually get the core to fit in here is tedious. It's tedious at best, and it will take a little bit of time. So I'll go through the topic, I'll go through how you do it, and then I'll go through 3 different techniques on doing it. And then after that, I will simply just say, you know, we'll leave it as an exercise for everybody who's going to do one next month. All right? On doing a ring is you're going to pick up these cores. And anybody guess where I get all my ring supplies? Anybody guess where I get all my ring supplies? So I get all my stuff from Exotic Blanks. Ed has always been he's a sponsor of the Midwest Pen Turners Gathering. He's a sponsor of Turn On Chicago. He's always been there as a vendor. So if you look at the core, and I'll pass one of these around, this is the core that we're going to use. And you're going to see that it's got a really nice rounded edge on the inside, but it's sharp on the outside. And we're going to turn a ring to actually fit and to go into this one. If you're just starting out, get yourself tons of these cores. These cores are only a couple dollars a piece. And when you want to make your first ring, and you need to you know, you're going to make a size 10 ring or something like that, guess what? Get yourself a size 10, a 10.5, and 11, because the first time you're going to go in, you're going to clear the wood out and actually round it out. I guarantee you, you're going to turn it too deep, and that way you can save it by trying a ring that's to core it out with a ring and at least save the blank that you have. So if you want to, I'll just pass this stuff around. Typically about 1/16 of an inch, maybe even a little bit more proud than the ring. When I do that, am I fine? Then the ring core is when we're going to do the ring core. I'll pull out the ring. So you can see it's about a 1/16 of an inch bigger than the ring that that we're going to try to turn in terms of height, or in terms of, you know, width, depending on the way you're looking at it. I'm going to tell you, you don't want to try soft things or punky things or things that have a real open grain to them, because the first one I turned was zebra wood, and I thought, boy, that's going to be really a beautiful ring when I had it done. I'm telling you, it's hard as heck, because as you're getting down, your tool, unless you've got really great tool technique, your tool is going to be aggressive and it's going to be cutting into it. So I'll tell you, start out with something stabilized. Start out This tulip wood is beautiful wood. It's just a really easy wood to turn. I don't know if you guys ever have turned tulip wood. Beautiful wood to turn, real easy wood to finish. And you know, the whole part of doing this stuff is to excite you to actually do something the first time and have it come out looking good and successful. That's why you're gonna want to do it again. So I'm gonna highly suggest that you do, you know, something like tulip wood. You're gonna need a couple things. One of the things that you're gonna need is a chuck. This is a Vic Mark chuck. This is the 100. All the chucks work on it. Normally I would have the other jaws on here, but I'm gonna show you, I didn't want to waste time. I already put the jaws in that I'm gonna be using for tonight. So the nice thing about demoing here is that you have Powermatic, which is what I have, and we've got it all set up. So if you watch videos of guys who are gonna teach you how to do rings, what they're gonna show you is that what they do is they made a little block like this. And they would chuck this in the block and they would use two-faced tape. Take the tape, tape it on here, mount my ring on here, and then I'm gonna do my drill cut on here. Has anybody ever used this stuff, two-faced tape? Really? And you like it? And you're successful with it? It took all the fun out of it for me, trying to peel this stuff off and try to get it to work. I mean, it literally took all the fun out of it for me. So if you like doing it, that's fine. I actually found that when I did it, the first time I did it, and then I drilled into it and I cored it out, and I did a little bit of rounding cut, when I went to peel it off, the ring snapped in half. So I do it a little bit differently. So we'll talk a little bit about it. If you're into it, you know, this is just a simple dovetail on the back of it. So this would mount into my normal chuck when I have the normal jaws on there. I'd mark a little X on here to find my centering point. I'd take my point center, pop it in there, and then push it on and let this two-faced tape hold onto it for a little while. I don't like doing it that way. If you like doing it that way, more power to you. That's good. I found that if I just used the long chucks, the long jaws on here, I don't know the official name of these things, but that this works great for me. The rings come sized, these cores come sized, and they go as low as 5 to all the way up to a size 13. Perfect. Okay. That's perfect. So what I wind up doing is chucking it up in here just like this. I try to line it to the front on here, and I'm ready to go. So I'm ready to get this thing going, and I'm ready to make my first cuts on here. And what you're gonna do is find a Forstner bit or a jobber bit. You can use any kind of bit that you really want, and try, you know, give yourself a little bit of a running chance at the start, and find a Forstner bit or whatever bit that you're gonna do that's roughly to the size that you want. And then I would simply put my Jacob's chuck in here and drill through it. And you're gonna think, well, you know what? Do I need to have a backer on here? I've never had a problem with it. I'll take it through really, really slow. And as long as my bit is really, really sharp and precise, I've never had blowout on the back end on it. If you were concerned about it, drill the hole first, and then go to your bandsaw and cut off the 16th inch, or sorry, the slice that you have on here. So we good so far? Everybody get where I'm going on here? All right, so once I have the hole in there, I have 3 different ways. Tom, can I bother you one more time? I want to do the one with the hole in it. So can you take off all 4 sides? Just a little on it, please. Sorry.
Is the hole to the outside diameter of the ring?
The hole is to the, yeah, it's not gonna be all the way to the outside, but to relatively close. I kind of fit it in. If it fits in here, then that's good enough for me, because then I can make my final adjustment. But that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna try to get the hole to the outside diameter of the ring. Okay.
But preferable to do it smaller and then work it out.
Yes, it's gonna always go smaller. Yeah, you can get it almost real close to it. I'm fine. I don't really care about that core. We're gonna get it as close to where we want to be, and then we're gonna ring it back out. Now, once we have it, I'm gonna show you 3 different techniques of getting this thing matched out to where we want it to be.
You can very easily crush that, right?
Yep. So there we go, right? So now I've taken my drill bit, I've drilled into this, right? So what I find is, I'm probably the only person in this room that this applies to, but I find I'm short. And I have a little bit of a hard time when I'm trying to make this cut that goes into here. And so I'm always going to be turning on that side. So there's a couple different options, right? I love using the Easy Wood tool, and then I can use the Easy Wood square cutter, and I can cut in on here. If I don't have that, I will use this tool. So you want to take off? Can we see this tool? So it looks like a scraper, but it's really not. You can see here it's beveled on the edge here. And then when I go on the cutting edge, it's beveled in. So if I look at it that way, can you see that it's beveled in? So I did a demo once when I was using the Easy Wood wood turning tool to make this cut. And Dick Singh came up to me and he went, "Never again will you use that. You're going to use this tool." And so if you've ever seen Dick Singh's handles, this is a Dick Singh handle on here. Nice thing about this is I can get it right up to here. I can get it over, but for me, I'm still a little short, right? If you know, all you taller guys were there, your head would be over here and you can actually see where you're going on here. And you'd see that I can simply, this is the way that I want to be cutting on. Are you picking it up? Fine. This is the way that I'd want to be cutting on here. The relief on here buys me that, if you think about it, I've got a swoop in here, right? So if this wasn't reliefed in here, this bottom edge would constantly be catching down here and I would never be able to get that really nice cut. So if I've got it here and I have that little swoop on there, I can get this in there. Now, before I had that and I was challenged, the other thing that you can do is I like using the diamond cutter. Where am I at? I don't mind using the Easy Wood turning tool diamond cutter, right? But if you think about it, if I was to do this cut, now my handle's way out here, and my head's way over here, and so kind of a hard cut, right? So what's the obvious thing to do?
Run it backwards.
Run it backwards. So now I can get it in here. Now, if I'm going to do that, because of the bevel on this thing, or where the edge is on this thing, I will be cutting it a little bit high off the center. But it doesn't bother me. But I'm going to run it backwards. And now for me, being a short guy, easy as heck. I can see where I'm cutting. I can see everything that I'm turning on here. And then what I wind up doing is I don't want to be too far, right? I don't want to make the cut too far into it. So when I first started, I know that there's a little marking on here, the EWT marking on here. I know that that's the inside edge of that ring. So when I'm making my cut, I only have to cut into here and I know exactly where I'm going to be making that cut to. Make sense? Everybody happy so far? Anybody have questions? All right, so that was...
Only to make sure your chuck is on tight when you put it in reverse?
Yes, yes. And I'm not gonna be turning at a really high speed on any of this, but I appreciate that. So there's two other techniques, right? And I'm gonna show you. If you're really gonna get into this, you can pick up one of these, and it's basically a bar. You put your carbide cutter in here, and kind of takes all the fun out of it because it makes it way too easy. So you just find the wrench that you want. Am I still on camera?
Yeah.
So can you see this thing set up here? It's got a carbide cutter on the edge. And then it will go into my Morse taper number 2, so it locks in here, right? Then when I'm making my cut, this will be onto the... Can you imagine it, or do you want me to really pull it up? All right, I'd be cutting it into here. Now all I do is I take one cut in, I twist it in, I pull it back out using my handle on there, and then I simply take here and I can adjust it, and every time I rotate it that way, I'm going to add, it says right on here, 10 thousandths of an inch, 20 thousandths of an inch. Pull it back out, cut it back in. Pull it back out, cut it back in. And what we're trying to accomplish is simply trying to get, no, this is the wrong cord, but we're simply trying to get it so that the ring cores itself into there. So you're constantly testing it. But can you see this one? This one's darn close already as is. So what would be the last way of cutting it? Come on, this is easy. Sandpaper, right? Just take some sandpaper, put it in there. I say this with everything that I do. The goal is to get to what you're happy with at the end. How you get there and what that journey is like, that's the fun part. So, you know what? It's not cheating to use sandpaper if you have to use sandpaper to finally get that. And you can see this one's kind of cheating, right? Because I already have it almost lined up. But if I really wanted to, that would have been all the steps that I would have taken to get this on that one. So are we good with this? All right, so now that we've got that done, so this is called a pen maker's mandrel. All right, and you can see it's got edges all along it, right? So once I have that ring and I had it cored and I have that core glued in, oh, let me talk a little bit about gluing on this thing. Once again, when you see guys demoing this stuff on YouTube, they're always going to use CA, and they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to take a little CA, I'm going to put a drop in here, I'm going to rub it around in here, and then I'm going to put my core in there and it's going to set. I don't like doing CA for this. Anybody who's ever done CA for pen blanks and pen tubes and stuff like that, CA doesn't have a lot of strength. CA strength is going up and down. Do you remember the commercial with the guy holding his helmet and holding it on? It's meant to do that. It doesn't have a lot of tangential strength. And so when we get this up there and we're actually going to start turning on it and we're going to hit and we're going to hit and we're going to hit and we're going to hit, that's tangential, right? And I'm putting pressure on the glue in the opposite way. And so I use 5-minute epoxy. It normally takes, and then I put it in, and it will take me, basically 24 hours for it to dry. But I'm not really excited about doing things really, really quick. So I'll cut it in and I'll put it in and I'll do that. Another simple little thing is if I put the glue in here and then I take this core, and if it's really, really tight, this core becomes a plow, right? And it's going to get, the glue is going to come back onto the core. And then I got all that glue sitting in there. I'll typically take my 5-minute epoxy, put it around on here, right? And then I'll drop it in like that. Now, there's no plow to it. There's no glue that's going to be forced onto the ring. Will there still be slop on the ring? There will still be slop on the ring. The beauty of epoxy is it's a heck of a lot easier to clean epoxy off than it is to clean CA off. So just my opinion as to what the proper kind of glue is and the way you want to glue it up. So now,
how do you clean the epoxy? Do you use a solvent?
No, I just use I either use a pick or I use my fingernail, and I don't let it harden. As I said, within 24 hours, it's hardened and it's got all its strength, but it still is pliable enough that you can usually get either something in there to get that cut. So I typically have one longer fingernail and I'll use it. I use it when I'm pen making. I have one longer fingernail so I can tell when I get to the bushing. And I know it's a little weird thing. So if you ever watch any of my YouTube videos and you watch my hands, you'll go, God damn it, that nail needs to be cut. Yeah, it is. It is really what I use. So this is the pen maker's mandrel, all right? And I thought I'd be way too late, and I'm already late now. What you wind up doing is you take your jaws off here, put it into the chuck and hold it down, and you can see it's got edges on here. There's two different sizes of these. So there's the 5.5 to 8.5 or 9, and then 9 to 13. So 2 different sizes on. Go ahead.
Mark, you call that a pen maker's?
Sorry, ring maker's mandrel. And so you're going to see here, it's got a little bit of a, you know, it's serrated. And so what you'll do is you find where this matches up. And so that one matches up on that. And then I'll simply take my Allen wrench. Oop, that looked the right way. Oop. There we go. And now it tightened itself up on there. And it tightened itself up on the line, right? So now I can just simply go in and I can turn it. And I can get it down. Now, as I said, you might have a little bit of play on each side, right? So I didn't cut this thing exactly the way I wanted it. I left it about 1/16 of an inch. Well, if you look at it, the way this is set up, I've got more room on this side than I have on this side, right? So don't be scared to turn this, edge this off perfectly, then take it out, flip it over, and then get the other side and edge it out perfectly. I don't see why you wouldn't want to do that. And so then that way I always get this ring perfectly sized. I get it down. I'll tell you, as you can see, the last one that I sent around, I don't know if it came back, it's kind of thick. I mean, it's not, it's fine. It's fine. It's kind of, you know, reasonably thick here. And I found that, so this is that zebra wood one that I did the first time, and I got it so thin, it's not even attractive, I don't think. So I find that, you know, there's just enough a little bit here that you want to do it. And then once you have that done, you're going to put a finish on it. So let's talk a little bit about putting a finish on it. And then we're going to try not to hit the ring, obviously. But if you hit it or you scratch it, we're going to be able to get it out on the buffing process. I haven't, you know, limited experience, right? I've probably made 3 or 4 dozen of them right now at most. I haven't had one shatter when it's on there. The only time I had it shatter when I was prying it off the first time, doing it that way. All right? So this is a turn between centers mandrel for pen makers. And so when I'm going to put the finish on, so on this, you would make, so I don't have it here, but I'd make a little spacer. And the nice thing here is, now I can actually, using these things here, can you see that? So you put a little spacer on here, so this lands there and that one lands there. And now I can do all my finishing on this. If you don't want to, you know, these are purchased pieces on here. Delrin rod works perfect. I get Delrin rod and I just cut my own Delrin rod, and I'll just take it and I'll take a 45-degree edge on here, cut them out, and then drill a 7mm hole through here. If Dick Singh ever sees this video, he'll get really upset, but a 1/4 inch is basically 7mm to me. And so you'll see that, you know, you could just drill a 1/4 inch hole through here. It's going to act perfectly on this mandrel, and you'll be able to set up and use this mandrel for any kind of finishing on here. And we'll do a proper finish when we talk about glue boost in a little while. Same technique will work on pens. It'll work on this. So do you see how you set this up to actually put the finish on? Everybody happy with that?
Yep.
All right. So now the other kind of ring that we can do is these channel rings. Can you see the channel on here? Should I put it on the bench? There.
No, you can see it.
Okay. So this one gives us the ability to do something like this, where I put opal inlay in here. And it's going to be incredibly easy to do this. So what we do, we're going to do it with a million different tools on here. I would typically use, at home, I would typically use the same setup that I had there with my Delrin on there, so that I don't get any glue on it. when I'm actually going to do this one. But I want to show you another, you know, half the fun is buying a lot of stuff, right? Isn't that half the fun of wood turning? You actually get a little depressed when you get the free wood because I had to buy everything else. Did anybody watch my video on the AAW? Oh. So I started out this way. Can I just tell you a joke? So I started out this way. I said that I was so intimidated because all the real big names are out there. You know, there was a lot of really big name turners, and I'm the who's this guy when people were looking at it. And I said, you know, the biggest thing is all those professional turners have their websites where they sell their tools and they sell their DVDs. I sell my tools and my DVDs on a website also. It's eBay. You can get all my used tools on eBay. So I'm going to show you something that you can use this thing a million different ways. And you may not want to use it to do the inlay, but you know what? It works. So this is another ring maker's mandrel. And if I was to do this inlay with it, I probably would want to use Delrin and use Delrin bushings on here. But you know, you could use the rubber bushings on here. These are stainless steel. I don't want to use this way. But for what I'm going to explain to you, this is going to work perfectly. So imagine that I just set this up with Delrin bushings, okay? And not the stainless steel bushings. So here's it set up, right? And so now I just got to fill the channel. And I'm going to put whatever I want in the channel. So Exotic Blanks does sell a lot of beautiful opal powders. I'll pass a couple of these around. Here's blue. Here's some greens. Do yourself a favor. If you're going to want to get into this inlay stuff and this inlay opal, get the fine. So it's, you know, you can get, in terms of the way that it's broken down, that's the fine. And you think about it this way. The first rings that I did, I was using some of the larger stuff, like this ring. I'll just leave it there. That ring is a little bit larger stone in there. And if you think about it, what happens is, it's like sand, right? If I took boulders and I wanted to fill up a channel, I'm gonna have a lot of weird gaps, right? And so I've got to fill all those gaps in. If I took sand and I filled up a channel, it's gonna fill up really nice. So do yourself a favor, find the fine or the extra fine stuff, and that's what we're gonna do. So now, all we need to do is fill this channel up. And so, a couple things that you're gonna wanna do is, opal is not cheap. Those crushed stones that you have out there are not cheap. So I'll put a catch under it so that I'm gonna get whatever I'm gonna miss on here, I'm gonna catch it, and I'm gonna be able to keep it on here. Go ahead.
One packet run.
Yeah, I don't know. I think those packets probably there, I think they run maybe about $8 or $9, and you're probably into it for, you know, I can get at least 3, maybe 4 pens out of it. So I don't want to seem like I'm super cheap on things, but I mean, I'm not going to waste it. And so that's what I'm going to do. I found, you know, people will say, color the channel now. Take a black marker and color the channel. I found that when I did that on the first couple that I did, the opal is so transparent that when I dipped glue on it, it went to a weird color. It went really, really dark. It didn't have the vibrance on it. So on, yeah, like on this one, this ring here, this was a light blue. And you can see I did color the channel on it, and I was actually disappointed that it came out black. This one, orange is reasonable. And then I had a pink one, or this one's easier too, the lime green one. The lime green, I didn't color the channels on it, and I let it reflect all the way out. So just a couple things. I mean, it's like pen making, right? I don't know how many people here make pens. If you paint the tubes, you can vary the colors on a lot of stuff. So I used a lot of those techniques that I had over there to vary the colors on what I wanted to do over here. I'll put the opal on top of it, so then I can add more opal on, you know, my second time around. I can add more opal into it to fill it in, and then put the glue on top of it to get it to seal up. You're gonna go, and you can be proud of this. It's gonna be, in terms of proud meaning overfill it. You can be overfilled on the channel, because then all we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing that we did as if we're doing a normal pen. We're gonna take our tools, we're gonna cut it down, we're gonna round it down. If I nick it a little, I really don't care, because I'll be able to sand it out and I'll be able to still get the perfect finish on here. Go ahead.
So you're putting that powder ground up opal on that slit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of rotate a little bit and put some more.
Yep.
The glue doesn't keep your fingers stuck to the thing?
Oh, no. On a good weekend for me, when I go home, my hands will be pitch black from all the glue and I will tell you, everybody's supposed to be safety, and we're all supposed to use all the safety stuff and gloves and stuff like that. I don't. I'll be honest with you. I wear a respirator. I wear masks. When I'm turning, I'll always wear a face shield, especially after I'm turning something that has super glue on it or a CA finish on it. I'll have all that up. My fingers are probably, you know, I'm a little bit more loose on my fingers, and I'll apologize for that one. But no, I haven't really had a problem on it.
So you're putting the opal on first and then the glue?
So the first time around, I'm putting the glue in, putting the opal on. Next time around, I'm putting more opal on top of it, and then I'm putting my glue on top of it. Make sense? Okay, and then so we're simply going to then take this down. We're going to turn it, and we're going to have the finish on here that we want by adding either either another round of the CA finish on here or not. And then we're done. So there's a lot of different cores that you can buy out there. I showed you the stainless steel, which is the most prevalent out there. We talked about the two different kind of cores, right? We talked about the round one that we had originally that we did for doing the wood blank. This one's got the channeled core on here. These are new. This is carbon fiber. The core on here works the exact same way as anything else. And then you've got a nice dark ring to it, and then you put you're not limited to what you can put in this channel too. I mean, you can put opal in here, but as a pen maker, I've got tons of stuff that I do, right? I could put snake skin in here. You know, if I cut the snake skin up small enough, I can put snake skin in here. I can put anything I want in here. I could simply take colored glue and just continually laying up colored glue on here. I haven't tried it yet, but Berea now makes, and I think Alumilite makes the what's that? The ultraviolet cured resin, right? Is it ultraviolet light cured resin? No reason you couldn't use that. You can mix up a little bit of that, or you can use that to glue in the opals or glue in any of it with the ultralight resins. Has anybody here tried the ultralight? What do you think of it?
I use ultralight cured glue.
Okay.
It's the same thing. It's just a different application. It works pretty good.
Okay.
It's disconcerting because you don't know, you know?
Yep.
There's no indicators for you.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too that you have to put on glasses and all that stuff. And the glasses don't seem like, you know, tough enough to save my eyes, and so we'll see how that one goes. So okay, so that was kind of what I wanted to talk about on rings. We went over the basic ring. We went over how to do the basic ring by cutting it in. I showed you at least 4 different techniques for getting, we drill a hole in it, then all we got to do is keep pushing it in until we get it in. So we can either use the square tool or scraper to get it to cut in. I could flip it over and want to do it on the other side using the diamond cut. I can use that relief tool that Dick Singh made so that I have a nice big relief on there. And you can make that. It's just simply taking it to your grinder and grinding it down. I'm sure there are tool makers in this room that could help you out on making something like that. What else did we do? We talked about sanding. sanding on the inside as a cutting tool, and I think that, oh, and we talked about the boring bar. Yes, sir.
When you're cutting the opalite, if you use that, any special tools? Or?
You know, I like to use the negative rate cutter. I found that the negative rate cutter, I use Easy Wood tool. I keep talking about carbide tools. This is all I use for pen making. If anybody has ever seen, when I did my demo here, the one that went popular, I'm not Kim Kardashian viral, but for a pen maker, I was actually pretty happy with the numbers. I was using high-speed steel, and I had a real swept back grind on it, and I found that I could cut with it. I've been using these tools for years, and I just never put enough time into learning how to use them properly. Now, over the course of the last 5 years, I've learned how to use these things properly, and I'm telling you, this is the way to go if you're going to do any kind of small turning. You know what, it wasn't part of the thing, but I'll give you a quick, when I say that I learned to use it properly, I use it a little bit differently. And so most people, when they're going to make the turn here, and you're going to be doing the turning, let's actually set this up. If you're going to be doing any kind of small turning, ring turning, pen making, any kind of small turning, do yourself a favor, get yourself a small tool rest, so that, you know, if I had the tailstock up here, I'm way too far away from what I want to be cutting. That's way more than 1/8 of an inch. So get yourself, you know, invest in a small tool rest. I love mine. I've got the one that I got it Peachtree, and I think it's called the Savannah set, and it's got 3 or 4 different heads on it, and you just unscrew the head that you unscrew the bar that you want, you screw in another bar, and it's 3 or 4 different sizes on it. I use the smallest one for pen making, and for pepper mills or something like that, I use the mid-size one. I love it. So, but proper tool technique for me, this is just my thing, is I see a lot of people, you know, you're going to use the tool, and I think you're always taught, brace it against here, brace it against yourself, and you put your hand back here. Well, for precision turning that I want to be doing, there's a lot that can happen in here with me moving and stuff like that. So what I wind up doing is I'll do it this way so you guys can all see it. I'll hold the tool more like a pencil, and it's braced underneath my arm when I'm actually going to do my turning on here. So now when I'm here and it's really, really close, I've got it here, I'm real precise. I can't make that big swing because the best way to turn is you're gonna move your body. I don't wanna, if I'm making a straight cut, the odds of me getting it straight this way are a lot less than if I do it with my whole body. And so I'll have it in here. I can see right over where I'm at. Everything is right here, all precision. You know, if it was a pencil, I wouldn't hold a pencil like this, right? I'd hold a pencil, you know, like I'm gonna write with it. So that's why I love these Easy Wood tools, is that I can get it right in here, and I can be so precise on what I want to cut. And the other thing is, if you decide to go the carbide route, you can get the different heads. They've got the miniature set, and so if you're doing pen making or ring making, that miniature set is perfect because that head on there is so small. It's just easy to get right where I wanted to get it and get perfect control on it. So, you know, as I said, I hold it this way. It's underneath my arm. It's fully braced. It can't go anywhere. My thumb is simply the guide that I have on here. The other thing that's nice about holding it this way is this tool wants to be at level. It doesn't want it, you don't want to be cutting it this way. You don't want to be cutting it this way. I'm holding it level. And so I've got that. So the question though that came up is there a different one? I love to use the negative rate cutter on here, and it's hard to see it. I don't know if you'd be able to catch it, but negative rake is exactly what it says, right? This one goes out and it's square. This one's got a little bit of an angle on it, so it's a little bit less aggressive. And people ask all the time, well, Can't I just take this tool, and if I turn it up here, is it a negative rake cutter? The problem is this is not consistent, right? And all turning is about muscle memory. So if I get so used to turning and I'm here, I can't always get this exact angle. This is not always 20 degrees. That's always a negative rake 20-degree cutter on here. So I'm never gonna be, sometimes, you know, if I'm here or if I'm here or I'm up a little bit more, I don't have that. With the negative rake cutter, I simply hold it here exactly where I want it, and then when I'm making that cut, it's always at that 20 degrees. I don't have to worry about it. My hand is always keeping this tool level. I like it. It's not a lot of thinking on here. So that's just my opinion on tools. You see all my tools have a little hook. I've got closet racks in my house, in my workshop, and it's the closet racks that have the 1 inch, you know, the white things with the 1 inch spacers. It works perfectly. Then I just hook these all up, and I've got 1 inch spacing all the way around my shop. So any questions on ring making? Any questions on tools? Any questions on any of this stuff? Because now we're going to go to finishing.
On the ring blank, before you start applying the CA, do you have to clean it off with acetone or anything?
I don't. Nope. Nope. Because to me, it's just like a pen. I don't clean a pen off that way either. Yes, sir.
Have you ever made a ring without all the stuff?
No, I've seen people do it. No, I haven't tried it.
Okay.
So, if you do, let me know. I'd love to see it.
I've done it.
Okay. And this is a free forum. I mean, the intention is to help each other out. So I'm just facilitating. So if you want to say what your experience is on it.
No, it's a little different.
Okay. So.
You ever use cup carbide rather than the black carbide?
No, these are the only tools I use. I love these tools. So if you have, what's your experience on them?
Cup carbide can be more aggressive. The black carbide is basically a scraper. And if you're going to use cup carbide, you end up twisting it at about 30 degrees. So it'll shear cut.
Okay.
But if you go in straight with it, it can be aggressive.
Anybody else have any questions? Comments? Help each other out? Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about finishing all small projects.
Wood tools quite often are on sale at Craft Supply, Rockler, usually 15% off. So catch them on the sale.
Anybody wants a handle and then just buy the bits, I can do that for you. Save you about $100 a tool.
So I'm going to pass 2 pieces around for you. This is a 25-cent piece of maple. This is the piece that went on right below this one. This is finished. We're going to get this finished in less than 5 minutes on the piece of wood. So I'm going to pass these around so you get a better idea what we're going to do. And then you're going to see that getting this spectacular finish on here is going to be a 5-minute endeavor at most. So, I'm going to use the turn between centers Mandrel system. And yes, this is a pen maker's thing, but
There's a smaller rest underneath if you want to.
you know, I'm not even going to use the rest, I don't think. Can I grab this here?
I won't be sorry.
Here's a piece of wood, right? It's the same piece of maple. All I did was sand it all down. So I sanded it down through all my grits. Nothing more than 400 at this point. So I've sanded it down to 400 grit. Now, this is a turn between centers Mandrel system. And so instead of using, when you're doing your turning, you've got bushings on your pen and you're turning it down to your bushings. I'm going to replace my bushings with these Delrin bushings, right? Nothing can stick to Delrin. So I'm simply going to take this on here, put it there, lock it down, give it a little turn, and I'm ready to go. So can you see the Delrin bushings on here so that I've got something that's not going to stick to? Through magic, I will use gloves this time. And this is all you're going to need. I use Glue Boost. I've been using Glue Boost probably for the last 4 years. I love this stuff because has that piece gone around? What do you think? What did you guys think of the finish? That finish for a 5-minute finish, it came from the high-end like a musical instrument repair on there. So they used it to, if you go on the Glue Boost website, they'll take a guitar and they'll actually take it and they'll whack the heck out of it, and then they'll actually put the finish on. They'll reapply the finish using this stuff. I love this finish. It's going to be a real natural finish, and it's going to be easy. Now, if you've ever done a CA finish, I never understood why people did it this way. They start out doing thin. They'll do 3 layers of thin, 3 layers of medium. You've probably heard me say this before. There's so much voodoo out there on how to apply a finish on a pen. I've seen people who do 20 coats of CA. If that's what you like doing, that's fine. When I first started doing it, I was telling Tom when I came in here earlier, I would put this on a threaded rod, and then, because I was never really good at handling medium CA, and I could never get that to work, I would put on 3 coats of thin, and then I would take the threaded rod out, I'd put one of the hooks on there, and then I'd just go hang it up and come back the next day, put 3 more coats on, hook it and hang it up. 3 coats is about the most you can do and still let it work. So I would do that, and it would be a 3 or 4 day process. I'm telling you, we're gonna be done. It's gonna take a little bit more than 5 minutes just because I'm gonna be talking. But, so instead of doing the thin first, we're gonna do the medium first. And we're gonna let the thin just be the top coat. And I think of it this way, is that if I took the piece of wood under a microscope and I looked at it, I'd see little jaggy edges on there, right? That's just how it's gonna be. Well, if I use thin, guess what's gonna happen? It's gonna soak into the wood, but guess what it's gonna be? It's gonna still have all the little jaggy edges on there. So I'm gonna use the medium first to help it level it off. So this is part of the system. This is the Accelerator. So we are going to use glue and we are going to use Accelerator. I'm going to tell you all the myths that you know about Accelerator aren't the same with this. So you're going to hear people go, I don't like to use Accelerator because it's going to haze and it's going to turn my blank white. I've been doing this, as I said, only 4 years, but I have not yet had a pen that has turned white. And if you go on Glue Boost's website, there's actually a line on there. I don't know if it's a guarantee, but you know what? That it doesn't. I've never had a pen spot. I've never had a pen where the finish fractured because it is a flex finish on it, so it's gonna adjust to the moisture on it. I haven't had a real problem with this, and I don't get anything out of it. I do talk a lot about Glue Boost, and I talk at clubs and stuff about it. I'm not an employee. There's nothing financial with it. Every once in a while, I'll call the guy up and say, hey, I'm gonna be doing a big demo, and he'll send me a bottle or two. But other than that, I get the bottles at guess where I get the bottles? Where I buy my stuff. Anybody?
Hobby Lobby.
Anybody?
Exotic
Plagues. So I'll buy my stuff over. I'll buy my stuff over there. All right. So what we're gonna do. The other thing that you'll see is a lot of people like to do this with the lathe on. I'm not a big fan of the lathe being on to apply my finish. The viscosity in this is really well. Sorry, it's a little bit longer open time. And what that affords me is that I can rub it on, I can get it to self-level. I'm never excited about taking something that could blind me and putting it on a lathe going even 300 RPM. And I wear a face mask. I will tell you that if you look at my face mask, you can still see little marks all over it where one time I might have put it on a little too heavy and it would have shot back up into my face. I normally wear safety glasses. I didn't bring them tonight. They're probably with my real nice rings or my nicer rings. So I'm simply going to take and put a drop on here. And it's kind of a healthy drop.
What happens when you put that on resin?
I do it all the time. So, oh wait, let me tell you. So I'm gonna give it. Did you see that? It was a spritz. It wasn't a spray. And I'm ready. I can touch it. It was a spritz. It wasn't a spray. I find a lot of people when they're adjusting to this system that they spray that on so much. Well, remember, anything that doesn't get taken up on it, now when I put the second coat on, is already reacting with that second coat. And so I want to just do a spritz on there. I put it on resin all the time. When I'm casting, I do a lot of my own casting. I find that when I cast Silmar, which is a PR resin, I can buff it out and it looks like glass. When I cast Alumilite, which is a fantastic product, I don't want to say that it's not. It's a fantastic product, but I use it when I'm going to be doing some sort of like embedded object or I want some adherence to it. I just don't think Alumilite shines up as much. So then I put in on that one, I'll only do the thin on there, a couple coats of thin, and I do this exact same technique you're going to see here. Comes out looking like glass. So did I answer it?
Well, I make ornaments, you know, with the 8-pointed star
Yep.
and cast around it.
Yep.
So what I have been doing is just rubbing in Danish oil on the wood exposed part. Well, you know, it's not much of a finish, and it's
So a lot of us do, the other thing that they do is what's called worthless wood, where you do half wood, half acrylic on your blanks.
yeah.
And I'll always put a CA finish on top of it. Sorry, not a CA, I'll always use Glue Boost on top of it. Sorry, I want to do the, go ahead.
Glue Boost isn't a CA though?
So it's never marketed as a CA, it's marketed as a liquid finish in a bottle. I wouldn't buy it to glue my helmet to the top of an I-beam. So you'll see on here, nowhere on the bottle does it say that it's an adhesive, a CA adhesive. It's a finish. So is it in the same family? It clearly is in the same family, but it is more of a liquid finish in a bottle. So I don't know if you guys see from where you're at, but I mean, finish on there is already looking kind of nice.
Is that medium or thin?
That's the medium. I always start with the medium. Now,
The two mediums.
2 mediums, and then I'll do two or three thins, and I'm done. That one that you saw only had 4 coats on there. So if you feel it on here, you may feel a little bit of a nib, right? So I'll simply take steel wool.
What size?
4/0. 4/0 steel wool, and I don't know if I have a volunteer who wants to come up and see how smooth it is. It is smooth.
It's really smooth.
Thank you, sir. Your check will be in the mail later.
Feminine touch here.
Don't forget the zeros on the end.
In my family, that's on the other side.
Oh, okay.
My checks usually start with 00 dot. So now I'm gonna do the thing. And I typically, if you've ever seen me demo this stuff, I refer to it as the blue and the orange. There are other colors out there. There's ultra thin, which is red. There is a green. I find that these are the two that I really, really like to use. So now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm simply gonna take a drop, put it on here. The weird thing about it is you can't see my pressure. You know, that's the hard thing about demoing. You can't feel my pressure. But I didn't put a lot of pressure on it. I'm not intending to pull this off. I'm intending to simply get it on and level it. So now I'll take another one.
What was the pad we used?
Oh, this is just blue paper towel. You know. All right, so I put on another coat. Couple spritz. Now I will be looking for my micro mesh.
You explain micro mesh for
Yep.
people who may not know?
Yep. So now I just want to get my sanding. You know, and to be honest with you, if you want to come back up, I haven't steel wooled it yet. If you want to see how it come on back up, I haven't steel wooled it and see if it. Be honest with them if it's
I'm starting to
self-wooled.
feel like Vanna.
Yeah, that's what I normally say.
We'll edit him out too.
I feel a little bit of nubs on it.
Yep. But I mean, it's not a lot. I'm not going to have to work a lot on this to get it done. So I'm simply going to take my 4X steel wool. I'm going to knock it down.
And Mark, are your two large, are they the same, the two large containers you have there? They're both Accelerator?
Yeah. I just know one was getting close to being done. Yeah, that one's close to being done, and I didn't want to embarrass myself. Right. So now it's basically an acrylic. So we can finish it the same way that we were going to finish any kind of acrylic. So these are my demo pads, so they are a little bit dirty. This is micro mesh. It comes in a series of grits, and it says that it goes up to, you know, I forgot what the starting is, but it goes up to 12,000. That's not 12,000 on the normal sandpaper. I think that's probably, what did they say, around 2,000 in normal sandpaper is the equivalent of micro mesh 12,000. They are nice little pads on here. If they get to be this color like this, and they're a little bit dirty, a couple things you can do. You can either just put them in water and wipe them all down with water. You can also just take not a nylon, but you know, like those socks for washing kids stuff, and throw these in there and throw them in a wash machine, and they come out perfectly fine.
So they last forever.
Yeah, well, they don't last forever, but they last longer than the first time that you get it like that.
You buy those at your local woodworking store or online.
So now I'm going to simply just take it. And this is literally, when I'm at home, this is about the most you're ever going to see me do. I will stop like every second or third one, and I'll just go the other way. Oh, shoot. Nobody has hot polish here, do they? I forgot my polish at the end. So it's not going to be as bright as the last one. But
Use Nova polish or which one?
I use Novus. Novus 2. I don't need any of the other ones. I love Novus 2. And here's a little tip. Here's a little tip if you use Novus 2. I find it cheapest to buy it in the quarts. And I find that it's, you know, I don't even like the bottles that it comes in. So what I wind up doing, because it gets hard and rock hard on the top, on those bottles and stuff like that, if you leave it open in the air.
Yeah, plugs.
Yep. So what I wind up doing is just took a bottle of soap from your bathroom. You know, the bottles that have the pump on there. I put a funnel in there. I pour my Novus 2 in there. I tie it. You know, I rotate it back up. One pump is the perfect amount of polish on there, and I can buff everything out that way.
When you use the 3, you use just the 2.
I just use the 2.
What is Novus made of?
It's got pumice and it's a creamy stuff.
It is a creamy stuff, yeah.
It's got some sort of a cutting thing in it, but the 3 is for heavier scratches, the 2 is for the polishing.
So, go ahead, please.
It's, I don't know what's in it. There's some sort of cutting, pumice or something in it, but it's really fine.
It's probably finer than rotten stone.
If I would have had my Novus polish, this would have been perfect. But anybody want to? I'm going to use this for the next part. But can you see that? I mean, it's got a real nice finish on there. It's smooth as silk. And you saw, I mean, I only did 4 coats. I could have put that 5th coat on. I only did 4 coats, and I was done. And if I was to put this on, you don't have a buffing system, right? If I was to buff this on the BL buffing system, it's going to be like glass. And what did it take me? It took me 5 minutes. There's no streaks on here. It's perfectly self-leveled. and everything's good on it.
Now, when I'm doing ornaments, I will use wet and dry sandpaper and actually wet the resin and all, and start 800,000, 1,200, 2,000, 3,000, and then go into the polish, the novice. That's just, there's so many ways to do these things.
Yep. As I said, I'm a little more old school on some of it. Even though I have a finish on here, and that finish is going to be perfect on here, the idea of putting water near it bothers me a little bit, so that's why I don't do it. But your way, people do it all the time. This is just that's what we're, So I'm gonna just sand this. I'm gonna do something else to it now. I want to make sure that someone has to clean up after me. Normally I would turn this down, but
About 500 on the lathe.
yeah. So the weird thing about, is anybody here? So here's a couple things on sanding and sandpaper. You're gonna make your finish tremendously better if you learn to just take the sandpaper when it's done and throw it out. I get 2 or 3 things on here. Here's the myth. If you were here, I said the same thing last time I was here. Used 100 grit sandpaper does not become 200 grit sandpaper. Used 200 grit does not somehow become 400 grit. This is set up to be a cutting tool, and I sat through a demo once, 40 or an hour and a half on sandpaper, and I know you guys are going, wow, how's this guy single? No, so I learned a lot. So this aluminum oxide sandpaper and all the aluminum oxide sandpapers are meant to fracture. And if you looked at it under a microscope, it's got peaks, right? And the more you use it, you get fracture lines and it starts to roll over itself. The problem that you have is that if you use it a lot, if those don't always roll over the way they're supposed to, and you get one that still has the peak on there, your natural tendency as sandpaper gets used more is to press more and hold more, right? So have you ever had one where you get a random scratch in there and you go, how the heck did I ever get that random scratch in there? And it's not on the end, it's 3/4 of the way through the sandpaper. It's because one of the pieces didn't fracture the way that it was supposed to fracture. And then when you put more pressure on there, you now have let that piece scratch into your work. At least that's my theory.
Another thing you should do is when you're sanding the head or a bowl or anything, once you use your 80 grit or whatever, clean it all off, and it sometimes requires blowing it off. Because especially on the inside of a bowl, you still have some residue.
Oh yeah.
You put your next to this finer piece in there, you're still cutting with some 80. So cleaning it off on the outside of a bowl, it usually dissipates, but inside you can catch it.
All right, so now we're going to do something that you can't do with, at least I have never been able to see anybody do with any other finish out there. We're gonna tint this thing, and we're gonna give it some color. So there's a whole master set of tints that you can use. I've got yellow and I've got orange, but there's blue. There's all the primary colors: blue, red, green. You can mix these things up so you can get an exact match to anything. Like if the vibrant blue shirt, we can match that up, and we can get enough mixture on here. I'm gonna go a little bit easier. You guys get to pick. I think the orange is more dramatic to see on the camera, but if anybody was really hard pressed on yellow, I could do yellow. Is orange okay? All right. So while it still has really good viscosity, I am gonna prep a little bit. I'm gonna have everything ready to go. So once again, I'm gonna take my blue paper towel. I'm gonna cut it here. I'm gonna roll it down. Now, I am not gonna do the medium on here. And people ask me all the time, well, why don't you do the medium? My answer is, I don't know. I found that when I want to put the color on here, I want to get the color as close to the natural, to the wood, so it's adhering to the wood and not having a couple layers of thickness. So what I'll wind up doing is I'll put one coat of the color on. If I wanted to do another coat of the color on, I could do that. And then I'll put 3 coats of thin on top of it. So I still get that vibrant finish on it, but I find that it's easier to tint it in the thin than it is to tint it in the medium. So this is a HDPE board. This all comes, if you buy the master tint, you'll get these boards in here, and there's a little like a palette mixer on here. I was gonna make a Bob Ross joke just now, but I chose not to do it because we're gonna have a happy little tree on the pen. So I'm gonna use some Prussian blue gesso. No, so I'm gonna take the thin. I'm gonna put it on here. I'm gonna add my powder in here, and I'm gonna mix it up pretty thoroughly, and then I'm gonna dip it with here and apply it. Big question that I get all the time is, can we use anything else? Can I use mica powders? The answer is no. I've tried it because I thought I wanted to try it, and it made soup. It didn't work for me. The mica powders are perfectly blended to work for this stuff. So it is going to be a little bit of a paste on here. So you ready to go? You see here, I'm going to put a pretty fair amount, and I'm going to take a decent amount of the powder and kind of grind it in. I hope you can see the sun. And if I wanted to adjust the color, I could adjust the color on here. But for what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna just simply take my paper towel, pick it up, and I'm gonna try to get it on there reasonably. Oops, sorry. Reasonably balanced. Can you see that? I love how this thing looks already. So I'll, oops, spritz it. Hang on, I don't want to leave any on the lathe. I see Stuart Batty signed it, so I don't want to. So now I can, so I'm just cleaning up my stuff. Oh, I see I missed a spot. So it's still got a little bit. So I can add another coat on here if I want to. Right? Spritz it. And, I'm sorry?
Could you do that on a finial?
Can you do it on a finial? Yeah, of course. And I can even give you a nice trick. Is Master Tint comes in black. So if you wanted to get something that looked ebony, Master Tint comes in black. And you could take a 25-cent piece of maple, and you can look like it's black ebony on there, or black, any of those. It also has white. The white gives you a nice antique look on there. So, yeah, black and white are out there too. You know what looks great too is purple. So I don't know if you're into purple. So now all I'll do is finish it. So I'll take a little bit of
What do you think the price is on it?
thin. Oops, I
With the tint, should you have sanded it or steel wool it?
You could
first?
steel wool it if you want. Yeah, and it did make it a little lighter. I forgot to mention that to you guys. It will have a tendency to make it a little lighter, so if you want to blend it. And I didn't spend a lot of time getting my blend in there. So this one with the tint in there, it's gonna take a little bit longer to dry, but I was experimenting.
Mica powders don't work.
No. No. So this is spalted tamarind, and so this plant you can see here is half the spalted tamarind, and then when I was just coloring it. So once again, it's just to differentiate myself. I sell pens, I sell a lot of pens at shows, and there's going to be other wood guys there, right? I want to do something different that the guy next to me doesn't have. So They may have spalted tamarind. I've got spalted tamarind that's been colored. I've done something to it. So this one's just, that's spalted tamarind, and if I rotate this one around,
You can do the same thing with the magic marker.
you can. You know what else you can do? Seriously? On a serious note, what I'll do all the time is I'll take a 25-cent piece of maple, and I'll use trans tints. And has anybody here, obviously you know who Jimmy Clues is, right? So the same coloring technique that he does on his bowls, I've done on pens, and they look just ridiculous. People will spend tons of money on like double dyed and double stabilized woods. I can take a piece of maple and get that exact look. I turn it all the way down. I don't even have to stabilize it. They stabilize it, they put it in a pressure or vacuum chalk for days, and they get that color to go deep into it. I turn mine all the way down. I put a little bit of black on there, sand the black off, put my color on there, like purple, sand a little of it off, put some spots of yellow on there, and then sand it off, and I get that whole double dyed look. And it was simply because I took a week-long class with Jimmy out in Vegas once, and we played around with this stuff. And so I take stuff that they do over there and brought it into here. So I know that I'm over on time, but I know that Tom yelled at me, so I don't want to be too much longer. What do you guys think? Is there anything that I can't? So we went over rings, went over the other ring. I went over a traditional finish on small, did it in 5 minutes. I went over with coloring to start to do something that's different. You're more than welcome to come up to look at the blanks. Come up and ask any questions. Go ahead, sir.
All the stuff is at Exotic Wood.
All this stuff is at Exotic Wood.
Thank you.
So, also I get nothing out of them other than I think he's the best in the business. So I think Glue Boost is the best product out there, so that's why I talk about it. I like Easy Wood tools. I get nothing out of Easy Wood tools, but I'd like to talk about it because I think they're the best in the business. And Exotic Blanks, when I buy my stuff, I talk about them because I think they're the best in the business. I only do things that I think are the best in the business. And those are all personal opinions. As I said, last time I was here, I did high-speed steel. Now I switch, and I will never go back for pen turning. I can't imagine that I'm going to go back on finishes either over the course of all these years. I just find this one just so easy and foolproof. So a couple things on the finish too is there's some woods that are really hard to finish, right? Cocobolo. Cocobolo has a lot of oil in it. It's a real hard wood to finish. I've been able to finish it with this product. If you're going to try some of these new products and you're going to do it on something small, we have one advantage that flat workers don't have. Well, they have it, but they don't use it like we can. When a flat work, yeah. So what I'll do, you see how I got my blank here? I'll round it down, and then I'll put my finish on it. And if I like the finish, then I know that I got what I want. If I don't like it, I cut it off, sand it off, and do it again. Cut it off, sand it. I can get 8 or 9 good finishes on that piece of maple before I have to commit to the finish at the end. I can't tell you how many people buy some new finish and then turn it all the way down, get it where they're perfect, and that's the first time they're going to play with that finish. I just wouldn't do it that way. Put it on, sand it off. You know what the worst case thing that's going to happen? The 4th one on is going to be beautiful, then you sand it off, and when you put on that 5th one, you didn't get it as beautiful as the 4th one. That's the worst case scenario, right? And so just do it and try it. And as I said, if I would have taken the time to put the Novus on there and buff it out, it would be fine. I'll show you this too, is that this is still here. In terms of open time on CA, it's still not coagulated. I can still wipe most of it off. So that's why I can do this when the lathe is off instead of the lathe being on, because then that way I can still adjust my coat on there, I can adjust my finish on here, and you can see it's starting to toughen up on here. But how long has it been? I mean, it's been not judged in seconds. I've been away from this for minutes, and I'm still
rock hard by now.
Yeah, and so I love the fact that I have that, and that's why I can do it. Big thing is don't run bushings, right? Because I don't want to commit anything to my bushings or to my lathe in terms of color. All right, I'm yours for however long you want to ask me any questions. facilitate anything. If you guys have tried this, anybody wants to chime in as to whether they didn't get the same results as I did, or they like these things or not. I did Glue Boost here before. Did anybody pick up on it? Never try it?
I was talking to Betty earlier, and she got referred by a boat maker.
Yeah, he loves it. I haven't used it yet because I'm using the other stuff first, but this is great. Can I also ask you the tint or the powder? Where do you get that from?
Master Tint. It's part of the system.
Okay.
I get it right off of. It's Master Tint. You'll be able to get it there. They may have them locally too, but as I said, I get everything over at Exotic Ones.
Is Glue Boost done something like if you were making coasters?
You can do it on coasters for sure. So I know that there's a club. I did a demo for them in South Texas, and they've actually done Glue Boost on bowls and vases and things like that. And they do it in sections on the way down. I haven't tried it on something like that, but there's nothing. You can use it on coasters. It would be great, right? Because it's gonna. Yep, it's gonna be that.